Hello and welcome to episode 17 of the Bittersweet Uncomfyness podcast. We all have dreams, we all want to achieve something, we all want to be better, we all want so many things in life. But we always feel like there are certain things that are holding us back from getting to where we want to go or becoming who we want to become. And in this episode, I want to share also from personal experience what those things might be and how we can overcome them to be able to become the best version of ourselves. So before we start, as usual, I'm Joe, and I hope you're not comfortable. But if you are, then let's get uncomfortable together. Hi. So as I said in the introduction, this episode is all about the things that are holding us back from our ultimate goal or our success or even becoming the best version of ourselves. Because so often we think that I'm lazy or the procrastination is coming because I'm not too passionate about it. But sometimes you are passionate about your goal and you actually want to get there. And it's actually your dream, but there are certain things that keep on holding us back, that keep on bringing us steps back instead of making it possible for us to come forward and to become better. So I wrote a couple of points that I want to share with you today. And of course, there are a lot of different points that might affect your vision and might be holding you back. But I feel like those four are also and already enough for you to just get started, for you to actually start understanding that you are capable of becoming who you want to become or of achieving what you want to achieve. So the first point is everything starts with the story that we tell ourselves about ourselves. So when we are kids and we're growing up, our parents tell us stories about how we should live life, who we are, and what our capabilities are, because they see our strengths and weaknesses pretty early on, and they start pushing us in order to go in a certain direction because it is their job and they believe that they know what is best for us. So by growing up and first of all listening to our parents and then later on to friends or teachers or whatever, we start shaping our story of who we are and what we're capable of and what we're not capable of. So by growing up and always being penetrated with so much information about who we are, we totally forget that we have the capability and the power to decide who we are and who we want to become. It's not set in stone that we are a certain way just because everyone says that or everyone sees that. Maybe that is one of our strengths and people see it early on and they want to push us towards it. But maybe it's a strength we have that we don't really like doing or that we enjoy doing, but we don't want to make it our entire life. For example, being good at sports or being good at school or whatever. So there are certain things that we keep hearing around us that make us believe that we are who everyone thinks we are. And therefore, we never actually form our own identity and never understand our own story. So the exercise that I did to find out the story that I tell myself about myself is I wrote a question on my notebook and I wrote, what is the story that is holding me back from being who I want to be or becoming who I want to become? And the answer was shocking. At first, it was difficult to start writing because you don't want to admit that there is something in your control that is holding you back. But when I started writing, I realized that so many things that I was writing down weren't actually things that I believed for myself. Those were mostly things that people around me told me about myself. For example, what I felt was the immense story that without a college degree or without finishing university, You can't be anybody, actually. You can't get anywhere in life. And this is the story that I've been told since I was a little kid back in elementary school. So you finish elementary school, you go to middle school, you finish that, you go to high school, you finish that, you go to university, you finish that, you do your master's, and then you can start applying to find the perfect job for you. And that's not the path for everyone. It is the path of a lot of people, and therefore it is the cycle that is more or less the norm. But by now, we have so many possibilities outside of that make it possible for us to do whatever we want, whether it's a university degree or just any kind of course that teaches you how to be a better graphic designer or a better video editor or producer or whatever. So you don't need a college degree to pursue your passion. If your passion is law, then you need a degree in order to practice law. If your passion is medicine, then of course you need a degree to become a doctor, and so on and so forth. But if your passion is becoming a public speaker or a music writer or a producer or whatever, those are things that you can learn on your own and you can find your own path. Of course you can study things for it, but there are things that you would much rather enjoy doing than just study about it. You want to actually practice it. You want to do something. You want to compose a new music piece or whatever. So by the story of you need a college degree, you might be costing yourself a couple of years before you can actually start pursuing the passion that you want. And those couple of years, someone else out there was actually putting in the work and making it happen for them. So in a couple of years, you'll have a degree in probably something that has nothing to do with what you actually want to do, which is good because then you have a plan B. What if it doesn't work out? You can go find a job in whatever field you studied. But what if it does work out? Because 3-4 years is a long time. And with enough dedication and hard work, I think everything's possible. So this is the story that I was telling myself. Of course, it doesn't apply for everyone, but you need to find your story. What is the thing that is holding you back? What are the stories that you've been told that you believe that are real, but they aren't for your own life? Because then again, who are we to decide what's right and what's wrong? You can only know what's right for you and what's wrong for you. And if you feel like the story that is holding you back is not even yours, it's something that was implemented in your mind through your growing up with your family or at school or whatever, then maybe you should just shift your story in a way that makes you believe that your goal is doable with your own circumstances. Because it is doable, everything is. With enough hard work and dedication, you might be able to succeed actually the way you want, or along the way you might find something else that you want to do. But if your story keeps holding you back, you won't be able to perform at a high level in anything. Because for me, what I felt, and this again, I'm sharing it with you, and it was uncomfortable for me at first, but I wasn't performing good at university, and I wasn't pursuing my passion at the same time because I felt like I need to finish university and then start working at whatever I want to do, which is the podcast, and I want to do something in that direction. But I felt like, okay, you need a college degree to first gain a bit of working experience. But I do have working experience because I worked multiple jobs. And therefore, I never was able to perform at the highest level at any job or at the highest level at university. Don't get me wrong, I am good at university. I pass my exams, but I do it with zero passion. It's not something that I want to do. And my job that I'm doing, I perform as good as I can, which is good enough for me to maintain my job. But there is a lack of passion behind it because I know that this is not what I want to be doing, and university isn't either, and my passion is right in the middle, not even happening because I need to perform on two levels that are not bringing me joy and are draining me of my energy. So instead of focusing on things that I don't want to do, and instead starting to focus on the things that I do want to do, everything changed. And the story I told myself, I'm an average guy. Why do I think that I'm going to succeed while there are so many other people who are maybe more talented than I am or whatever? But this is a story that was also implemented into me, because at the end of it, you look around and you see that few people make it in whatever domain you're working at, the biggest names. But you don't always have to become the best at the thing you do. You can be among the best. You can be one of the very good ones. But have fun while doing it, instead of being the best at a company you're working at, but it's literally bringing you zero joy. I am a person who decided to write a story about myself that makes me want to wake up every day in the morning and try my best to make it work, while having fun, while enjoying the process. So this is the power of your own story. Your story is what defines you. Your story is what makes you believe you can or you cannot do something. So write down your story. Write down what's holding you back. And think about it. And be completely honest to yourself, because otherwise this exercise is not even real. It doesn't even matter if you're not honest. Just write down the actual true story that you hear in your mind every time you think about your goal. Whether it's your average, what makes you special, you need to pass this and that to be able to do that. Just take all the circumstances and find out what actually is your story, and not the story that was imposed upon you. Which story will get you up every day in the morning? After you write down the one that's holding you back, write down the story that will make you want to wake up every day with a smile on your face, knowing that today is going to be a kick-ass awesome day. The second one is differentiating between your beliefs and the beliefs that were imposed on you, that were forced, more or less. This ties to the first point, but it's a bit of a different kind of direction, because it's more about your values. We are born into a family that has a certain set of values. Your mom has a certain set of values. Your father, your grandfather, your grandmother, they all have their certain set of values, which were also created by their parents, and so on and so forth. So the cycle keeps on repeating. And therefore, we are always born into a certain religion that one of our parents or grandparents is from. So that is their religion, and you grow up learning about that religion way more than all the others, because that's the religion you have. That is your value. The same thing is about a political party, for example. When you're born into a family that is left-wing or right-wing, you tend to be more like them when you grow up, because you grow up literally listening to them talk about it the whole time, or teaching you about it, but they don't teach you the opposite values for you to decide. So we have so many values, and I can tell you most of them are not even yours. And I found that out through an exercise as well, the same way I did with my story. I wrote down what are my values, and it was so difficult to find values, just anything. But once I started writing, I wrote like 2 or 3 or 4. I actually filled a whole page with values that I have. And then I started reading them and realizing, okay, this value is definitely not mine, because right now in my life, after maturing and growing up and understanding more about life, this is not how I see this topic. So I struck it out, and I replaced it with one that matches my value more in the same topic. So by choosing your own values, you can choose the values that will suit and will match your vision and your goal way more than the visions, than the values that you already have. And one value that I had, for example, I'm just going to make it more relatable for you, is making a lot of money is bad. Because it's unfair towards people who don't have the same chances. And this was a value that I had with me, but I never knew that I had it because of that. And once I read that value, because I felt like while I was writing, I was in a trance state, so I was just writing. And then while I was reading it again, I read that value and I was like, wait a second, that is not a value that I believe in. I believe that by making money, you can create more possibilities for other people to make more money, whether it's by providing jobs, whether it's by donations, whether it's by opening some projects to help the poor or the homeless or whatever. But if you don't make enough money, you can barely support yourself and your family. And I'm not saying make a lot of money to buy the Lamborghinis or whatever, but making a lot of money can give you the comfort to look around and see where help is needed. And this is why a lot of celebrities, a lot of people who make it in life, who make a lot of money, tend to donate more or tend to do charity work or open new charities because they can focus on that. If you are not making enough money to sustain a free life for yourself and for your family, free of worry and free of fear, then it's not gonna work out for you to help even more people. So this is my thought process. I just shared my thought process with you. And this is when I also deleted this value and I was like, no, this is not mine. Make more money in order to be able to help as many people as I can. And not, it's unfair to other people who don't have the same possibilities. It is unfair that a lot of people don't have the possibility of becoming richer or making more money or whatever. But maybe you can help them. Maybe you can try at least. Because we do have the chance. We do have the possibility. And if you're listening to this podcast, or if you in general listen to more podcasts that are about your mental health and so on and so forth, then I know that success is something important to you. You want to succeed. You want to be happy, lead a happy life. And we tend to be happier when we give to people who need it. Just seeing how happy you can make someone will make you happy. So think about that the next time you think about your values, how you can change your perception of your values. And I brought the examples before about the religion and about the political party and so on and so forth. And by talking to many people right now in our generation, in our times, I'm realizing that a lot of people are not following the religion they grew up with, or are not supporting the political party they grew up with, or they became vegans even though their family eats meat almost on a daily basis. These are people who found their own values. And now imagine you find your own values willingly. So you sit down and you write down all your values and you find which values don't match your future self or the vision of your future self, and exchange them with the values that actually help you and motivate you just as much as your new story will. So by having your new story set or the new direction and your new values, you will wake up every day knowing, I can do this because I have all I need to go out there and try. I know how I talk to myself. I know my story about myself. I know that I'm capable of doing it. I know that I'm dedicated, that I'm having fun while doing it. So when you take this as your story, and I don't need a degree to excel at anything actually, because I can teach myself and I can carry myself through the process. This is a supportive message from you to yourself every day. And the same thing is with your values. When your values match your future vision of yourself, you will automatically know when to say no to certain people and to certain adventures or whatever, because you know that this doesn't suit your values right now. Or if someone told you to go out for some drinks and like get wasted, you'll know that this doesn't match your values right now. And your values keep changing because the world is changing, you mature, you grow, and the values automatically start changing as well. Otherwise, it would be boring. But your core values, the values that you live by, are very, very, very important. And if your values are not aligned with your story and your future vision, then it's going to be very difficult for you to move forward, because you will always have this anchor weighing you down in the middle of the sea, which is, for example, a bad value. Where for me, it was making a lot of money is bad. I immediately always, when I thought about starting a business or doing something that can generate an income for me, I always felt bad. And I always felt like I don't deserve it. And this was the core value for me that I changed. I don't deserve to be wealthy. I don't deserve to be praised or to be whatever. Whatever it is you feel like you don't deserve, find out why you think that, because that has a lot to do with your story. And once you find out why you think you don't deserve a certain thing, change it and say that you do, because you do deserve the best. And you only have this one chance at life to try your best to make the best out of it. So this brings me all to point number 3. Once all of this is set and you have the correct values and the correct story and the right motivation, number 3 comes in, and it's fear of failure. We're afraid of failing because we're afraid of the heartbreak that comes with failure. When you put in 100% effort and work into something and it doesn't work out, it really saddens you, it breaks you, and it's very, very understandable, because you see all your work fade or fall together or into pieces. But that's not true. That is not true. You tried, and maybe you should just keep on trying after the first failure or the 10th or the 100th. Thomas Edison needed 100 tries before he invented the light bulb. Imagine failing 100 times doing the same thing. But he knew why he wanted to do it. He knew his values, he knew his story, he knew what his goal was from that. And he never let any setback stop him from trying again. The only time you fail is when you stop trying or you don't even start trying. Those are the two options for long-term failure. Not trying or stopping after one setback. Don't stop. If a business idea you had crashed entirely, fine. But you now know how you structured this business and you learned certain things, how you did them. Change. If you had one idea, you can have another one and try again. Then the third one, try again. You will make it work, because every time you experience something and it doesn't work out, you learn way more than you know. And through those lessons and through the resilience that you build, nothing can hurt you anymore. Nothing can break you anymore. And therefore, failure will not be something you're fearful of, but something you welcome, because you know that you're going to learn from it. And you keep on going knowing that you're going to succeed, because your values and your story are so strongly aligned with what you're doing. And you wake up knowing that if I'm doing something, I'm giving it my 100%. I'm not going to half-ass anything I do. Either I do the whole thing or nothing. But if I do nothing, nothing will change. So when you give it 100% and you make it one of your values to always give your task 100%, and it doesn't work out, that only means that you still have room for improvement. You can still do better. You can look at the problem differently. So a failure is just a setback. I started 3 businesses so far. None of them worked. And I'm completely honest about it. None of them worked. But I don't sit around and cry about it. I'm already starting the fourth. If this one doesn't work out, which I don't think it will, because every time I start a project, I feel 100% sure that it's going to work out. Otherwise, why start? If you don't believe in it, why are you starting? So I go in with 100%. It doesn't work out, it flops. Well, what did I learn? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I learned so much from 3 ideas that failed. And now the fourth one, I am pretty sure it's going to work. If it doesn't, which I don't think it won't, I learned something new, and then the fifth one might. But I keep on trying. And this is all I want to tell you, that don't be afraid of failure. Instead, face it with a smile on your face. If life hands you lemons, make lemonade. This is literally what you can learn from it. So, which also brings me to another fear that holds us back, which is the fourth point. The fear of being judged. Who the fuck cares? That's the only thing I can say about this. I talked to so many people, and so many people reached out to me. Yeah, well, I want to do this and that, but I don't want people to judge me. Who the fuck cares? If they do judge, does that change anything in your life? Trajectory? Does it change the course of your entire life? If they say, well, you're dumb or you're stupid, or look at him, he's a failure, it's not working out, he tried 10 businesses. Yeah, well, what did you do? Is the only thing I might tell someone who judges me. Show me what you did. And if they did succeed at anything, I can promise you, they wouldn't judge you. You know why? Because they know that it takes hard work, and they know what it takes to succeed in anything. So instead of judging you, they will respect you, and they will support you, and they will offer you help. People who judge you secretly envy you for something they don't have. And in this case, it's motivation, it's persistence, it's dedication. So if you always have this fear of being judged by someone, ask yourself really, deeply, truly, listen to your heart. Why do you care if someone you don't even know, or someone you know casually, judges you? Hell, let it be someone from your inner circle. If someone of my friends group judges me for what I'm doing, well, can we still be friends? I'm not sure. But does it change my life? Hell no. Nothing changes my life except the actions that I do, and the way I talk to myself, and the way I believe in myself. And it's not an arrogant thought. I'm not arrogant. I'm the exact opposite of that. But I believe in myself, and I only welcome people in my life who also believe in me. It's not a requirement. It's not like, hi, do you believe in me? If not, fuck off. But the least that I expect of the people that I let into my life is that they are honest to me. That is very important. Judging and being honest are two different things. If someone of my inner circle comes to me and says, hey Joe, you're doing this and that, and I don't find it good, we go into a dialogue and we talk to each other. But the fear of being judged is not of that kind of judgment. It's the kind of social media comments, for example, or the cousin of someone who did something and succeeded in I don't know what will judge you because you're a failure of the family or whatever. Again, this is the only thing I can say. Who the fuck cares? Who the fuck cares? Well, if you do care, all I can tell you is don't. Really don't. I did an episode about regret, and the number one most common regret people had on their deathbeds is that they had wished they'd lived a life true to themselves and not a life others expected of them. So it's in the same area, because when you don't want to be judged, you want to be doing something that other people expect of you. You want to be winning because they expect you to win. But if you lose and they judge you, oh my God, what's going to happen? My life's going to fall apart. Hell no, it's not. It definitely is not going to fall apart. So get rid of that fear. If your values are anchored deep within you, what other people will think about you will not matter. You know, for me, it was a very difficult start to this podcast, and like this is, I feel like, an honest minute right now. Everything I share on this podcast is honest, and I'm uncomfortable for me because I'm usually not the kind of person who shares personal details as much with people I talk to. I'm the listener, but in this podcast, the main goal is to share with you guys, to make you also more comfortable sharing yours, or let's say uncomfortable, because it's very important to be uncomfortable, according to the podcast's name. For me, it was a very difficult start to this podcast. I started and I was scared. I was scared the hell out of the world. Really, I was so terrified of what people would think. I had special people in mind that I always heard their voices in my head, that as soon as I launched this podcast, they're gonna text me and be like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? That's stupid. Literally. And those same voices that I kept listening to in my head, and they were people I knew from my past, literally texted me and said that they like the podcast and that they find it amazing that I'm doing this. And this is when everything just started to make sense, because those were all expectations in my mind. So I was afraid of failing because I didn't want people to say, look at Joe, he did that and failed. And I was afraid of being judged by people that knew me, or I knew them. But those expectations, those fears were expectations. They didn't happen. But I didn't start because I felt like they might happen. So I started adapting a bit more optimism into my life, because I expected the worst case scenario, which kept holding me back. So which brings me to point number 5. Be optimistic. I was talking to a girl the other day, and she told me that optimism is naive, that it's unrealistic. And I told her, what's her view? And she said, I'm a pessimistic realist. And for a second there, I filled up a cup of water, and I went to her and I was like, you know the cliche, is this glass half empty or half full? And she started laughing. And I was like, okay, look, as an optimist, if I don't have any water and this is the only glass I have, then this half glass will satisfy me, will drown my thirst. But for you, you see it as half empty, and therefore you will not be happy with this half of the water. But it's water that you still need, whether it's this much or this much, it's still water. And it might be very helpful in the desert, for example, if you have half a bottle. So that's the way I talk to her about it. But being an optimist is not stupid. It's not naive. I can tell you that for sure, because it keeps you going. It keeps you motivated. It keeps you full of life and happy and hopeful. I don't know an optimist that doesn't have enough hope, or I don't know a pessimist who has hope. Hope is something that you develop by believing that something good will come or something good will happen. And this is optimism. So being optimistic is not naive, guys. Being optimistic is actually one of the main drivers that can get us to where we want to be. Because if you have a goal and you're a pessimist, you will never achieve that goal. Because you will always think about all the things that will go wrong. And therefore you will never try. You have a fear of failure, you have a fear of being judged, and so on and so forth. But if you optimistically think about your goal and say, hey, this goal is achievable. I'm going to do it within the next year or 2 or 5. You are going to work hard at it. You're going to enjoy it because you have hope that it's going to work. And with that, I wanna end this episode for today. Thank you all for listening very, very much. I appreciate every listener I gain every week. Every DM that I get is heartwarming to hear your feedback and whether you like this podcast or not. If you do or do not, please let me know, whether it's in a comment on YouTube or by subscribing. If you subscribe, I think you like it. If you subscribe just to judge me even more, that's your issue. Like this video, comment on this video, subscribe to the channel if you wanna get notified about future episodes. The Bittersweet Uncomfyness podcast is back. This is all I want to say. I took a 3-week pause, and right now I'm more motivated than ever. I'm happier than ever, more optimistic, and I want us all to go on a beautiful journey together. Next week will feature an amazing interview with an amazing friend of mine who has a very inspiring story. So stay tuned for that. I love you all. Take care.